His breath was already warming the side of my neck before I could form a word. One hand rested, barely there, on my shoulder, as if he was simply steadying me. The other guided me back, slow and sure, like this wasn't the first time he'd had to coax me into stillness. I bit my lip. I didn't nod. I didn't lean away. But I didn't say no, and they took that as a yes. Before I unfold the rest of this night, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It really does help more than you know. And if you're drawn into stories like this, I want you here for every one of them. Also tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Are you in a small town where the evenings fall slow and gentle, or in a city where the lights never quite go dark? I heard the door open behind me with a soft click of the latch. I didn't turn, didn't ask who it was. I just stayed where I was, sitting waiting, heart thudding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat, unsure what was coming next, but certain the moment was already in motion. Then I felt someone lean in close, the warmth of him hovering just behind my ear, and a low voice said, "Happy birthday." But it wasn't my partner's voice. The blindfold he'd tied around my head was cool against my skin, soft fabric, snug enough to erase the room into gradient shadows, thin enough that I could sense the dim hallway light beyond it. I lowered myself carefully onto the edge of the couch, hands woven together in my lap. I listened. The room was quiet. Too quiet for a house that was supposed to hold a celebration. No music, no chatter, just the faintest sounds. A brush of fabric against upholstery. The gentle clink of glass being set down on wood. And then, stillness again. I could feel that my partner was still there. Not from touch, not from sound, but from the way the air held a subtle awareness. But it wasn't his movement that drew my attention next. It was the floor. A single board near the doorway creaked slow, deliberate. Then another. Footsteps that weren't his. Someone else. I didn't move. I barely breathed. The blindfold clung gently to my face, blocking out the shape of this new presence but amplifying everything else. Behind me, my partner spoke, calm and certain. "He's here?" That was all. No one rushed. No one laughed. The room held itself very, very still. The floor complained softly again, this time closer. Right behind me now. "Don't take off the blindfold," my partner said quietly, and then I sensed him step to the side, making space. The boards sighed once more beneath another careful step. I didn't flinch. I didn't reach out. But I felt the shift. The air changed as if the room itself were waiting. There was someone else standing near me now, close enough that I could feel the attention even in that heavy hush. He didn't speak at first, he just stood there. Close enough that the silence between us took on weight. Then, finally, his voice came, steady, a little lower than I'd expected. "Happy birthday." It wasn't the words that made my pulse stutter. It was the feeling tucked behind them. Like he'd thought about this, about being here, about saying that, for longer than just tonight. I straightened my back, unsure what to do with my hands, but I let them stay folded in my lap. The blindfold remained firm, soft and unmoving. I felt movement. Not hands, not breath right against my skin, but the faint suggestion of him adjusting his stance, taking in the scene. My partner remained quiet, present, a witness, not an intruder. I stayed still, not because I was afraid, but because, for the first time in a long time, I felt like the stillness mattered, like I was being given space not to perform, but to decide. "You look peaceful like that," the new man said quietly. His voice carried no rush, no push, just observation. A pause followed, stretching long enough that curiosity began to spark in my chest. I heard soft steps, not toward me yet, but circling. Closer, then a little to the side. Then another soft complaint from the floor behind the couch. A breath from my right. But still no touch, just presence. "I want you to lean back," he said then, voice low. "Only if you want to." My lungs filled, slow and even. I let my hands slip from my lap to the cushion. My palms pressed into the fabric as I eased myself back, inch by inch, until my shoulders met the couch. He didn't guide me. He didn't press. I followed a feeling, not in his hands, but in myself. When I settled, he spoke again, his voice closer now, but softer. "You don't have to take it off," he said. "Not yet." I gave the smallest nod. I wasn't sure if he saw it, but somehow I knew he did. Then I felt something. Not fingers, not direct contact. Just the faintest shift in pressure across the bridge of my nose and the back of my head, as if the blindfold itself had been gently adjusted. Or maybe it was only the moment wrapping more tightly around me. No one said anything else. No one laid a hand on me. And still, I could feel him there, not by physical closeness, but by the way the room had narrowed down to the couch, the blindfold, my heartbeat, his nearness. "You don't need to see yet," he murmured, almost to himself. "I just want you to know you're not alone." Something in me turned over at that. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't demand, "Why is he here?" I just let my body sink down fully, shoulders resting against the cushions now, my arms relaxed at my sides. It wasn't surrender, it was permission. I let the quiet stretch. I didn't reach out. I just breathed deeper. He stayed there, his voice dropping into the space only when it had settled enough to hold it. "I was told you're strongest when you're still," he said softly. "That when you stop trying to control the moment, something beautiful starts." A small, unplanned breath escaped me, half sigh, half unspoken agreement. Because he was right. No one touched me. No one crowded me. But after a moment, I heard the softest shift of weight as the couch dipped on one side. Just a little, just enough to tell me he'd chosen a place near me. The blindfold loosened a fraction at the back of my head. I didn't lift my hand to help. I didn't fight to keep it in place. I let it fall when it was ready. The world returned in layers. Soft lamplight, the outline of the coffee table, the muted glow from the hallway, and him, sitting just to my right. He wasn't grinning, wasn't nervous. He was still, present, shoulders squared in a way that felt open, not defensive. A man who hadn't rushed to this couch, who hadn't burst into this night, but had waited for the exact moment I was ready to see him. Something in me lightened, not quite a smile, but something close to it. My partner was across from us in an armchair, watching gently. His posture said more than words. "I'm here. I trust you. I trust this. She's steady," one of them said. I wasn't sure which. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I simply let myself be seen. His gaze found mine again, and this time there was nothing complicated in it. No expectation. No push. Just tenderness. He lifted his hand, not toward my face, not to claim anything, just to rest on the cushion near mine, close enough that warmth radiated between us. Not close enough to corner me. My breath, which had been caught in my throat, smoothed out. My fingers slowly uncurled in my lap. The tension that had sat between my shoulder blades softened into something almost gentle. I looked at him the way you look at clarity after years of fog. He shifted as if to make himself smaller, not larger. Quieter, gentler. His own hands lay still, knotted loosely together in his lap. When he spoke, his words weren't about desire or escalation. They were about reassurance. "You're safe," he said simply. "You don't have to do anything. You can just be." My shoulders dropped another fraction of an inch without my permission. The room had changed from something charged to something held. He chose his words slowly, letting them float into the small space between us and settle there before offering more. I found myself leaning forward. Not a big shift, just a small tilt of my body toward him, drawn less by what he was saying and more by how he said it. His voice moved a little lower, not in some practiced way, in a way that carried trust. Then came the look. That one unhurried look from him that seemed to say, "If you want to open up, I will hold whatever comes out." He didn't push. He waited, and then he kept going, his tone a gentle tether. Warmth washed through me, not like a fire, but like water spreading slowly, touching corners of me I'd taught myself to ignore. My head tipped slightly to the side. My hands found each other again, holding on, but this time not in fear, in readiness. My heart, which had sprinted fast and wild at the start, began to beat in a heavy, steady rhythm. His words built in me not like a storm, but like a wave. Slow, sure, inevitable. Every part of me, from my breathing to my thoughts, started to move in time with that wave. He didn't raise his voice, but something in his tone grew more certain, like he was stepping onto a path he recognized, and inviting me to walk a little further down it with him. The room felt full of breathing, mine, his, my partner's, steady in the background. No rush, no chaos, just a shared intention. I lifted my eyes again, searching for that same depth I'd seen moments ago. Don't stop, I whispered. I don't know who I said it to. Maybe to him. Maybe to the moment. Maybe to myself. He didn't answer with words. He answered by continuing exactly as he had been, gentle, sure, unwavering. Then, slowly, he invited me to sit a little straighter again, to come upright. Not to leave the moment, but to meet it more fully. My hands slid closer to his on their own, not touching, just resting in the same patch of space. When I moved, it wasn't because I felt pulled. It was because I wanted more of whatever this was. His words didn't dictate, they guided, like a lantern walking a few steps ahead of me in the dark. My head bowed forward slightly. A few strands of hair slipped over my shoulder, brushing my cheek as feeling climbed up from somewhere deep in my chest. Somewhere behind us, my partner's voice came quiet but filled with something like awe. "Look at her," he murmured. "I've never seen her open like this." He was right. In that moment, I didn't recognize myself either. All I knew was that, for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't holding anything back. His eyes stayed locked on mine as he spoke once more, deeper than before. Something inside me pulled tight full. My fingers lifted a few inches toward him without me deciding they should. My chest filled to the point of ache. My skin buzzed with too much feeling and not enough language. And when it finally broke, it was like the world narrowed down to the space between my ribs. My breath stuttered, and then disappeared altogether for a second, not in fear, in release. When it came back, it did so in a trembling rush that carried everything I'd been holding for years, fear, hope, shame, longing, relief, and scattered it at our feet. I didn't try to gather it back up. For once, I let it stay where it fell. What happened after that wasn't some wild scene out of a movie. There was no explosion of noise, no dramatic collapse. Just me, shoulders loosening, lungs relearning how to work, 3 people around me, one in front, one watching, one just off to the side, all letting the quiet do the work. We talked softly. Honestly, not about what had just happened in my chest, but about the things that had built up and pushed it there. About how often I felt like I had to be fine. About the way I rarely asked for anything. About the ways I secretly feared being too much and not enough at the same time. They didn't try to fix me. They listened. When I was finally too tired to say another word, my head found the nearest shoulder. I didn't even see whose it was. It didn't matter. It was waiting. At some point, the room blurred at the edges. The lamplight softened. My last clear memory was the sound of my own breathing, finally deep, finally even, sensing with the quiet, grounded presence of the people around me. I fell asleep like that. Not because I was exhausted, because, for the first time in a very long time, being held, emotionally and gently, felt safe enough to let go in front of someone else. When I woke the next morning, sunlight was spilling in from the side, catching dust in slow spirals in the air. The blindfold lay folded neatly on the coffee table. My partner sat in the armchair, half reading, half watching me with a look that held a mix of pride and tenderness. The man who had guided me through the night, the one whose voice had walked me right up to the edge of myself, sat nearby, coffee in his hands, eyes soft, not staring, just there. No one joked. No one made it small. We shared breakfast like 3 people who'd walked through something strangely sacred together. No labels. No promises we couldn't keep. Just the quiet knowing that something in me had shifted, and they had witnessed it with care. When I left later, the hallway felt different. Not because of the paint or the light or the sound, because I was different walking down it. I had gone in expecting a night of fun. I walked away with a moment I would return to for years, whenever I needed to remember what it felt like to be met fully and gently at the same time. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a night, or even just a single moment, where you surprised yourself? Where you opened up more than you thought you could? Where you let someone see you when you normally would have turned away? Share it in the comments, anonymously or not. You might be surprised how many people quietly needed to hear your story. And if this one resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the truth is, some of the most powerful things we ever experience don't look dramatic from the outside. They're just a couch, a blindfold, a few words spoken at the right time, and a heart finally bravely saying, "I'm here." I'm ready. Don't stop.